Hello? There you go. Please silence your cell phones and devices so we can have a nice, quiet meeting. We will start momentarily.
Oh, that clock was late.
That one or that one? Oh, yeah. We haven't fallen back. All right, so at 6 o'clock, I call this meeting of the Saginaw City Council to order. Please rise for the pledges.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Please be seated. Item C is the invocation. I do not see Pastor Joe Rangel here. Is there anyone in the audience or on the dais that feels so moved as to give the invocation? It's open to anybody, young and old alike. Any volunteers? I guess I can do it then. Please bow your heads. Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us here today to do the good work of this great city. We appreciate the weather. We appreciate, we could use some rain, but we enjoy living in this town. We're so grateful to have a wonderful city to live with, to call our home. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Item 1D is audience participation. You are allowed to speak on any item that is on the agenda. Fill out one of these forms, which I already have a few, and you will speak on when I call for that at that time. Excuse me. So we are at 2, consent agenda. I've had a request to pull 2E. Any other questions, comments about the consent agenda? A is action regarding minutes from October 21st. B is action regarding proposed price increase for Waste Connections. C is action regarding ordinance 2025-27, amending the master fee schedule. D is action regarding the renewal of the Rains contract. We will pull E. F, action regarding an advanced funding agreement with the state of Texas through TxDOT for the construction of bicycle and pedestrian improvements on North Basswood. G is action regarding individual project order for Elkins Drive pulverized overlay. H is action regarding the purchase of a new excavator and trailer for the drainage department. I is action regarding the purchase of a new dump truck for the water department. J is action regarding the purchase of a new backhoe for the water department. Any questions or comments on those items? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve items 2A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I, and J as presented.
Valerie, second. Please cast your votes. Motion passes. Let the record reflect we do have a quorum this evening. Full house. Thanks for coming, folks. All right, so 2E, action regarding an advanced funding agreement with the state of Texas through TxDOT for a traffic signal light at East Bailey Boswell Road in Jarvis. Trenton Tidwell, city engineer.
Thank you, Mayor. So this item is the advanced funding agreement for an HSIP project, which is a grant project where we applied for funding to install a new traffic signal at Jarvis and Bailey Boswell. Part of that scope was to also add an eastbound left turn lane and remove the pork chop on the north side to the Prairie Moon in that subdivision. So I believe there are a few questions if we just want to start from there.
Council questions? Go ahead. Sean, go ahead.
So this item was discussed at a traffic board meeting, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and how did that go?
It went well. So that was in May, I believe. I'm referring to an email. That was on May 1st, yes, the Traffic Safety Advisory Committee.
Yeah.
We had brought this up. The concern that was actually brought up at that meeting was the illegal movements that citizens were making or vehicles were making, going eastbound and then turning left, although the pork chop is there. They were still making that movement and then also turning left out of the intersection. So the main concern was just asking Public Works to put up signs to prevent those illegal movements. I did bring up the intersection, the project that was proposed, and it was supported, and mainly just the overall safety of adding that intersection because other movements such as like turning out of Jarvis to go west on Bailey Boswell, there's a lot of concern about that movement from citizens as well as Public Works who make that movement daily.
So at this point in the process, if we were to not proceed, this question might be more for Bryn, based on the data that we've already received about the accidents and the one death that has occurred, are we open to liability if we do not pass this?
No, that would be a governmental function, so you would have immunity.
Okay.
I will say that with these projects where we're getting federal funds, whenever you apply for a very specific scope, we detail that in the language, but we also submit exhibits demonstrating the scope. If you deviate from that scope, you are at a strong risk of losing the grant funding.
Okay. Also, has there been a traffic study done through that neighborhood as far as the traffic on Prairie Moon?
No, there has not.
Okay. Is there a way that we could get one before construction starts so that we have a baseline as far as the traffic that's flowing through there? And then maybe if we need to do one after in case we suspect that it's gotten worse?
So we did collect traffic counts. Is the main concern the volume of cars? So we do have traffic counts from before. There was not a speed study or any other sort of study about the actual flow of traffic through the neighborhood. So it would be somewhat simple to compare the volume of cars through there before, and then we would just need to collect them afterwards. I would default to Randy to answer that, though, to make that decision.
And then also, is there any way to or any consideration to closing the neighborhood off from the north so that there's less traffic flowing through that neighborhood?
I'm not super familiar with those types of requests, to be honest. So I think there are some significant challenges to proceeding in that direction, but that might be more for emergency services or, yeah.
It was discussed at the traffic advisory board, and the fire marshal was there and said that they needed the 2 points of entrance and egress, so that's not an option.
Okay.
Mayor and council,
Yep.
I might add real quick, this intersection is no different than any other four-way intersection further to the east on Bailey Boswell. So if I get my intersections correct here, Basswood and whatever the entry into Creekwood is signalized, and then High Country as it crosses Bailey Boswell is also signalized. So if you want to kind of look at it as a keeping equal throughout that corridor, this would be the last intersection four-way that is not.
Yeah, I think the main concern is that neighborhood, when all the houses that are north of that are in Fort Worth kind of funnel right there. And they can go out to, was it Comanche Springs, and they can go out to Wagner Robertson. But I think because there's school traffic or whatever reason, Wagner Robertson gets backed up, they just cut through the neighborhood to try to avoid. And I'm hoping that when we put the light in, it'll eliminate that, because I think they're cutting through because there's no light. But if we put a light there, then hopefully it's all even. So at that point, to your point, it's all going to be consistent. There's not really a reason to cut through the neighborhood, hopefully.
So we implemented the no left turn, and I don't know if Chief Ragsdale has the data on that, but there was a significant amount of traffic stops made the first day, and it was all residents from that subdivision, except for one.
Well, the question is was it because that subdivision's divided, some of it's Bar C Fort Worth and some of it's Bar C Saginaw, so that would be the question.
Because if not, they're going to go up to Comanche Springs and cut through anyway.
All right, Chief, you were going to add something?
Yeah, I was going to say, as far as stops go, when you look at Prairie Moon, there's been a total of 20 stops, 13 cites, and 7 warnings. That's for all violations. When we look at the left turn, we're looking at 9 stops with 5 cites on that. So it's not a great number for 2 months' worth of data, but those numbers are there. If you include Sugar Creek, which is the connecting road between it and Red Moon, we've got 17 additional stops, and the majority of those are going to be for moving violations, but then there's secondary sites that come off that for the registration and insurance, things of that nature.
All right, Nick, you had a question? Go ahead.
So
Nick, will you pull your microphone down so everybody can hear you?
too. So it's my understanding that a big part of redoing this and the proposal you all got is due to safety concerns, and that the configuration that you all are proposing is to make that intersection a lot less dangerous. Is that correct?
Yes, that's 100% true. That's the whole basis of the grant opportunity is the Highway Safety Improvement Program. So you have to have an area where there's documented crashes. This intersection qualified enough so that they chose it to fund it.
Okay. So, Chief, you agree with that? Is that?
Absolutely.
Okay, so, yeah, okay, so it seems like, I don't see how we can go against a proposal for safety and put it in and put overall general citizens at a higher risk. And I know.
Will you say that again, make sure I understand? Rephrase
Oh,
that.
okay, so let's say that we did not go with this proposal, which is designed to make that intersection less risky. Let's say we changed it up. So we're now making the intersection more riskier than what it could be. And I find that an ethical problem. And I do know that you said that this is a city thing and we can hide behind our qualified immunity or whatever you want to call it, but boy, that just doesn't sit good to me.
And the other piece of it is there's more development going on in the industrial area now, so there's gonna be even more truck traffic coming out onto Bailey
Of
Boswell.
Jarvis.
It's just gonna be
Absolutely.
worse.
So what if we, from what I understand, I could be wrong, but from what I'm hearing, I haven't listened, is that it's the through traffic from those bad Fort Worth people. And, so what happens if we just go in there, because it goes like, the neighborhood goes like this, and it goes like this, and there's that one, I think there's one that comes in.
Red Moon, yeah.
So I got two questions. One, what if we just block that off? Because you still have an entrance and exit coming out. It's just coming, we're basically then, that neighborhood, we're just blocking it off from Fort Worth.
There's still 2 entrances and exits.
Or if that can't be done, I would at least ask if we could just, because I've seen other neighborhoods do that. Maybe not in Saginaw, but in other cities, I've seen them do that. Another is, what if we just go through there and put 4-way stop signs where it forces them to stop at the intersections inside the neighborhood?
My preference would be that, I think we all see the overall benefit of the project would be that we complete the project and then, like you said, do a follow-up study to see what the actual repercussions are. I think it's debatable if the traffic would increase because of the things you said. It would now be a signalized intersection just like Wagley Robertson and just like Comanche Springs. So there's a chance that people were cutting through now because it was unsignalized. They could make a free right. So I think we could look at that more in detail, but my preference, I'll take direction from Randy, would be to see where we end up, and then we'll look at the actual data of if there's a problem or not.
What's the downside of blocking that off to where we separate Fort Worth from Saginaw? Is there a safety concern?
Yes, there is. Anytime you want to close a roadway, that's going to hamper public safety. We run into that neighborhood along with our partner to Fort Worth, so that would jeopardize getting emergency services into that neighborhood or even through the neighborhood.
And so it goes both ways, right?
Correct.
So sometimes it could be Fort Worth needing to get through there to help a Saginaw person.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Very true.
Okay.
Council, other questions, comments? Yeah, I remember this discussion before, and I thought the safest solution was the traffic stop, the traffic light, and that's why we're moving forward with this. So I want to understand concerns, but that certainly seems like the safest option. Any other questions? I do have 3 people that have requested to speak from the audience, and unless there's other council questions or staff comments, I'll move forward with those. Let's go with Amy first. If y'all want, so just introduce yourself. I'll go at the same time, just introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Amy Nguyen.
All right. And she is the secretary of the Barcy Ranch HOA on the Saginaw side. I'm Kelly Schilling. I'm the vice president.
And I'm Susie Timler, and I'm just a resident.
Okay.
Your social coordinator. Yeah. All right. Well, and so we had talked I had come to the traffic advisory board in May and spoke and talked about those left-hand turns. And then we came here beginning of September to talk about this intersection. And I'm not against it. I just put that there because I know that's what we have to do. We think that there needs to be an intersection there. It's the left-hand turn out of our neighborhood that we don't want. If there was
into.
out of or into. So it would just keep that, if we could just keep it as a right in, right out, we're perfectly fine with it.
And I will say, since the sign has been put up for the no left turn, people are actually listening, and I live on the corner of Prairie Moon, and there is less passing through traffic. There really is. Oh, it's helped a lot. Yes.
It really has.
And so it hasn't inconvenienced us at all. And our section of the neighborhood is only 100-something homes, and seems like we're the only ones showing up, against it. Nobody's here for it, begging for it. So I just don't think it changes anything because there are the other entrances, and we do believe that there needs to be a safer option. Like, the intersection is great, just maybe not the left-hand turn.
And as you can see by all the traffic data, we do have speeders that are flying through. So they come through Sugar Creek, they fly up Prairie Moon, and so even if we could get some four-way stops in there, I know that I talked to the traffic advisory board about those as well. That would really help us a lot.
And apparently some of the ones we thought we were getting were denied, so we are not sure. And one of them was on Prairie Moon coming from Bailey, and that would have put a stop in between my corner and Bailey Boswell where people are, there's people going around each other and it's only 2 blocks. So if that would really help, but we are not really sure why it got denied when we had heard originally that it was happening.
We talked about it at the last traffic advisory board meeting, and we had to wait for the new budget. We didn't have money to purchase signs.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't denied, it's just,
That's how it was explained to me, that
Just-
we didn't have money. We had to wait for the new budget year to purchase the signs because they're not cheap.
Which they've been
Okay.
ordered. They're the flashing stop signs.
Right.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
So it's just delayed, it's not stopped. It's-
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
so let me ask you this, are we going to put the flashing stop signs in next year? So that's,
Yeah, we're putting them, they're 6 to 8 weeks out on order, and he ordered them right after October 1st, so.
so there you go, we're getting a stop sign there, it's just gonna be a little bit later.
Okay, hopefully that'll help a
And
little.
one thing you mentioned was about the left turn in and out, left turn. Logistically, can we do that? I don't know how that would work with a stoplight. Just by saying, put a sign up, say no, or what?
It'd be similar to what's out there right now. Yeah, just a sign that says no left turns. I mean, the main concern is that the movement will still be made.
People will still do it, right?
Yeah, and I think I've heard about that at the meetings, and then I think we have documented cases of that as well.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and then there was one other intersection, I talked to you about it, Randy, about the intersection on Comanche Springs and Cattleman, about striping and putting the do not block signs. Is that
Yes,
still,
we're-
that's still planned?
Matter of fact, they got pricing today to do.
Okay.
And is there a possibility to get one of those fisheye mirrors? So, because when the traffic lines up waiting for Bailey Boswell, we are not able to see around the cars to even safely turn left.
Sure.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay.
And we had originally asked for stop signs there. Is that not a possibility?
I think whenever we discussed it last time, that it was too close to that intersection.
Right.
And so I don't think that it would be effective. I mean, I think even if there's a truck that comes through there, I don't even know if there's enough room there. If there's like 1 or 2 cars, they'd block it anyway, so.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the best option is the optics of just even having a stripe. Yeah, some people are gonna just blow through it, but having that stripe there, I think it's a visual eye break, so it'll help you.
It's gotten worse since Fort Worth put Waters Bend, gave them a way to channel through our neighborhood as well.
Oh, I see. Okay. We're trying to help. It's not an easy solution. If there was, it'd have been done years ago,
We
unfortunately.
understand.
And people can still run lights, run stop signs,
Absolutely.
unfortunately. We do have police officers writing tickets as best we can, but it's just challenging, so.
And we truly appreciate them.
And Mr. Mayor, since you brought that up,
Yes, sir. Yes,
you
chief?
know, running stop signs in the last 2 months, we've cited 427 drivers for
Nice.
stop signs. So I really caution against using stop signs as a means to control speed. Drivers will drive how they drive, but running stop signs is much more dangerous than the speeding issue you're trying to control.
So just use a lot of caution if we're going to use stop signs to control speeders.
Understand.
I can
Thank
say
you.
that running stop signs in Saginaw seems to be a habitual problem. I rode out with the police, and we wasn't even patrolling. We were just driving through the city, and it seemed like every time we pulled up to a stop sign, somebody ran it. And the police officer had a person pulled over, and while he was writing a ticket for them to run a stop sign, another one just comes flying through. Just like, my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, to kind of summarize, if we're looking at both, we're gonna, look at voting on this, and then if it passes, we're gonna press forward and doing the intersection, and then we're also going to address these other issues. So hopefully it solves a lot of issues.
And we'll get some data after this as well.
We'll get data after
Yeah,
to confirm that.
to see if it works.
Yep.
So-
Yep.
And those no left turn signal or signs that have been put up, they have been a huge help. I mean, you still have people that are gonna still turn. I live right there and I see
Yeah.
it all the time, but it has made a big difference, so
Good.
thank you.
Good, I'm glad. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're trying to help y'all. It's
Yeah,
just,
Yes.
we appreciate
yeah,
it.
so we are. Anything else? Thank y'all for coming in, appreciate it. Any other questions, comments, council? If not, I'll entertain a motion on 2E.
Mayor, I'll make a motion, we approve item 2E from the consent agenda.
Okay,
I'll second.
Sean, second. Please cast your vote. Motion passes. Let's hope we get a little safer, folks. Thank y'all. All right, moving on. We are at 3. So 3A, recognitions, presentations. Gabe, what do we have?
We have some recognitions from the police department this evening.
And there are seats, Benjamin. You can sit. There's a lot of seats available. I don't want you to stand.
Good evening, Mayor and councils. One of the greatest things that any chief can do in their career is recognize their employees for achievements. And tonight we have two people that we want to recognize for promotional achievements. The promotional process is challenging, consists of several tasks. They have a writing assignment, they have an oral interview, or oral board that they have to do, and then a written test. And if you've seen our law book, it's about 800 and some odd pages. When we talk about a test, it's a pretty involved test. So the first recognition tonight that I'd like to make is for the rank of sergeant. The patrol sergeant is the first line supervisor in the field. They have a high degree of influence over patrol officers and supervised officers that engage in law enforcement activities, including providing services for the protection of life and property to the general public. The patrol sergeant ensures that adequate staffing is present on shift, that policies and laws are adhered to, and serves as the face of the organization on a daily basis. They provide guidance on the successful resolution of police calls for service, and at times are the highest ranking individual on duties. When you come on weekends on midnight shift, you don't have me, you don't have my assistant chief or no lieutenant, you have a sergeant that's running everything. So if I can have Jacob Rodriguez join me here in the front. So Jacob has been with the Saginaw PD for more than 4 years. He promoted to corporal in 2024, promoted to sergeant on October the 6th of this year. He's a field training officer, a bike officer, and he's one of the department's 2 certified drone operators. So with Jacob is his wife, Kelsey, and his children, Evan, Bo, and Riley, and many extended family members. The next recognition is going to be for corporal. The corporal, during routine daily activities, works district taking calls and conducting investigations. However, in the absence of the sergeant, the corporal fills the duties of the sergeant. The corporal is assigned a random task by the sergeant to assist them in learning the full duties, and when necessary, can step into that role without hesitation. If I could have Corporal Dominic Garcia join us here in the front. Dominic has also been with the PD for 4 years. He's a member of the department's SWAT team and is a certified canine decoy officer helping train our Canine 6. So if you ever wonder who's in the suit taking the bites, it's this man right here. So he does a phenomenal job helping with our canine. So with Dominic is his wife Madison, his son Micah, and many extended family members as well. If I could have the family step forward. Gentlemen, if y'all want to turn your backs to the podium there and face out. So having the support of one's family is immeasurable. Our profession is stressful every day, and many days being beyond dangerous. It is the support of family and friends that allows an officer to overcome these struggles and is detrimental to their wellness and future success. I'm a huge family advocate, so when we have officers, I encourage family to come up to the PD to visit. On holidays, if an officer has to work, I encourage them to come up, have meals with their families, throw a movie in the projector, let's watch some movies with the kids and answer calls as necessary. So with that, gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and do the oath. So if I can get you to raise your right hands and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Vic Rodriguez,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties
that I will faithfully execute the duties
of the office of Peace Officer of the State of Texas
of the office of Peace Officer of the State of Texas,
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution
the Constitution
and laws of the United States
and laws of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Kelsey and Madison, if you can pin the badges. Now, I normally encourage spouses at this point to leave the needle at a 90-degree angle, hit it real hard, and it'll stay. No one's actually taken me up on that. She already said she wasn't going to go for that. So, council, it is with great honor that I present to you Sergeant Jacob Rodriguez and Corporal Dominic Garcia. Congratulations, gentlemen. Very good. So we're going to grab some photos here real quick. As soon as we're done with these photos, I have two more employees that I'd like to recognize or introduce to council. So. Yeah, gentlemen, if I can go along here real quick, sir. You look We'll keep family in.
1, 2, 3, cheese.
Now, I would also like to introduce our two newest members to the PD staff. These guys are pretty new. One's fresh out of training, one's still in training. So just wanted council to be aware of who they were. So if I could get Officer Josh Norris and Alex Schmidt, join me to the front. While they're coming up, so Mr. Norris, he came as a TCOL certified candidate, having worked for another agency. He has completed FTO and is currently working A nights. And Officer Schmidt finished the academy in September and is currently in the FTO program, working B days, and expected to graduate FTO around December the 11th. So we have a lot of high expectations for both Josh and Alec here. So gentlemen, thank you for choosing Saginaw to be your PD family, and we welcome you here and have great expectations for you. So thank you. All right, gentlemen. Thank you. Can we get a photo real quick? Stand in the middle so you can just even it out.
So, Chief, are we fully staffed yet?
I really wish you wouldn't have asked that question. So as of yesterday, I'm currently 3 short. I've had one not make training, and I've had 2 resignations. One left for another agency, making a little more money, and another has left law enforcement as a whole and has entered the private sector.
All right, well, thank you, Chief. Thank you, folks. Congratulations to all. We appreciate the recognition. Any other recognitions or presentations, Gabe? All right. All right, moving on to 3B, report on vendor search for citywide 311 and public works software. Luisa Pina, welcome.
Bear with me just one moment, sorry. Okay, good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Luisa. I'm the Public Works Admin Coordinator for those who don't remember me. I'm here today to present to you the finalized choices from the vendor search for the future citywide 311 ticketing system and work order system. We did have a meeting yesterday with 3 representatives from council in which we went more in depth through all of the proposals that each of the final vendors sent, but that was 2 hours, so for the sake of time, I'm going to give a little bit of quick synopsis of what we cover.
Yeah, please don't do 2 hours, please, please. I'm begging you.
Let me know if I'm being too slow for sure. But before I start, same context that we provided yesterday in terms of where we started prior to the provider that we have right now. As you know, we went live on January of 2024. Previous to that, we didn't have a centralized system for citizens' requests or work orders. So people were at the mercy of only emailing staff or calling our main line, getting transferred over to submit any kind of report or inquiry to staff. And on the work order side, our guys were just tracking the work that they were doing on a day-to-day basis with pens and papers. All those packs of paper would be submitted to admin at the front office, and then we would have to do a double data entry onto STW. Another big issue with that is that we could only really link work orders to addresses, but it didn't give you any insight on where most of those work orders were being concentrated or any asset management insight either as well, or reporting capabilities. So after we transitioned to address those concerns, we went from pen and papers and flip phones to the guys getting access to smartphones and tablets to be able to track their work with the new software provider that we had. Residents now have the option to submit reports and inquiries through that online form, and they can also follow up on any statuses by getting responses from staff via email, or looking up those reports with an ID or ID code generated through our system. It is better than where we started. We can definitely get now a count of the amount of reports that we receive monthly to what departments are going. And we have, again, centralized software. If someone calls me and they tell me they reported something a year ago, that's something I can access if I have the right contact information for the resident and see what's going on in terms of activity for that report. We do, however, have faced system challenges with the current provider that we have. Many of those challenges have come up with the fact that we didn't previously have any form of provider, therefore we didn't know what we needed or what challenges would have come up. That implementation was also quicker than it should have been, and now looking back at it, with only being a couple of months to transition everyone, get staff trained, and we did need to do retraining as we go, with still to this day some people getting on the loop as to how to use this program for following up with reports and filling out their work orders, but we're better than where we started for sure. One of the biggest issues is the unfriendliness for users in terms of the resident side. They can only receive reports via email, and if they need to look something up, they have to look through the massive amount of emails that are probably on their inbox to look for that ID, and can only look it up one at a time in our website, instead of being able to log their contact information or log it into an account and see the history of everything they've ever reported all in one place, as well as any notes or updates provided by staff. They also don't allow post-submission edits, so if we require further information from residents to best assist them in those reports, we have to do so outside of that software. So if you guys were to ask for an update or residents for an update, we not only have to account for what we have on our system, but we also have to separately look into our Outlook or whatever other forms of communication staff's currently using to get a sense of every interaction we had for that resident, with that resident for that report. Because of all of those reasons, it is limited in terms of the alerting that staff can receive if something is coming up to a due date or if a resident hasn't received an update in a minute. On the work order portion, these are not on the same environment or module as the reports that we receive from residents. What that means is if you submit a report today and we determine on our end that it needs to become a work order, a crew member on site will complete that work order, but it will not automate a response or completion of that ticket. That means that that crew member has to report to superintendent, and then superintendent or someone in admin still has to go look for that report and close it out or respond to that resident. I understand that it might sound at first impression like a first world problem, but when you consider the amount of tasks that are involved or steps that are involved into completing just one task, and the work that our crews are already doing on a day-to-day basis outside of answering to resident reports, it adds up in time, and it just makes it very inefficient. Additionally, it's not the most mobile-friendly. If you look at it from a phone view, it looks like a minimized desktop, so you need to zoom in and out constantly, can create issues when logging that data, and most employees are not able to use it when they're actually on the field and have to wait until they get back to the office to log their work in. Another major system challenge is the lack of really any asset tracking capability or preventative maintenance. What that means is we can only link work orders to an address. So if someone is doing any kind of repair on a fire hydrant meter, for instance, you can only link the address to the house nearest to that fire hydrant. So if we wanted to assess if an asset is coming up due for a replacement, or assess how much time we're spending on patching up potholes in just one road, we would have to look through the extensive records of work orders and do the manual work of building those reports ourselves. Again, just adding a lot of steps to one task. To address those current system challenges that we faced really early on with our provider, we knew that we wanted to transition to someone new when the end of our contract came up on July 31st, 2026. So based on those challenges, staff feedback, feedback that we got from residents that use our program, as well as a list of selection criteria recommended by council, we came up with kind of a scope of features that we needed. Some for sure, some would be ideal to have, while ruling out all of the providers that we looked into. The ones that are circled in red are those that were part of that list provided by council, and they weren't originally in staff's list of criteria of things that we were looking for. With one being the login interface to allow residents to have a central point of access where they can see all the history of reports that they've submitted, or at the very least, if it's not a login interface, to be able to put in their email or contact information that they used to submit that report and get a list of everything that they've submitted rather than going back and forth to their inbox. And the other one that was recommended by council was a form of surveying or escalation of tickets so that residents can have the option to fill out a survey at the end or completion of that ticket so that we can get an assessment of how we're doing in terms of customer staff interaction and our completion time of those requests. For the work order asset management, in terms of the current system challenges I've explained, as you know, we're looking for something that's going to be mobile friendly, that's going to allow us to do all the asset management that we're wanting in addition to fleet, if not at least more than what we currently have. And to also have potentially the capability of having an IPA connection set up with our new utility billing software, Oracle. So we started our search pretty early on after implementation, and then of course it became quicker towards the end of this year as we're approaching that renewal or end of contract. Collectively, with the demos that we've done with all of the vendors that you see above, and the demos where other staff members and representatives from each division at Public Works have sat in, we've spent approximately 300 hours. Again, that's just demoing time, emails, but it's just an estimate. iWork, who we currently have, we did send a letter early this year letting them know what those current challenges that we were facing were, to give them a chance to let us know if there was an option for a more advanced package to address those issues. It doesn't sound like it would be quick enough before that July 36th deadline, though. So we would definitely be having to move forward with another provider. Oracle, we looked into that because that's what we're doing for utility billing now, and it would be ideal to have everything in one place. Unfortunately, their system was not Public Works centric, despite how good it is for utility billing, from the impressions of that demo. GovPilot, one ruled out very closely to the top three I'm about to show you, and it really just came down to the references that it had very limited presence on Dallas-Fort Worth area and a really short implementation period. We already face challenges because of how quickly we moved into nothing to something, and we really want to avoid that, take as much time as we can to prepare our crews for the transition. Noble Solutions, they have a limited amount of users for their quotes, so we wouldn't be able to add as many staff members as possible. Trimble, or also known as CityWorks, really popular in the area, but it doesn't have all of the modules that we're needing in one. The way they work is they set up IPA connections with vendors that they work with, and we want to avoid having multiple vendors. That's an issue that we have now. RTV Vision, we would be the first city to implement the citizen request portion, and we don't want to jump with a vendor if there's not a precedent of how they've done with other cities. With Maintenance X, Maintenance Care, Facility Force, they were super Public Works centric or facility maintenance centric, and lacked a lot on the criteria that we were needing for public response. And IMGIS, great for asset management and work orders, but not an existing resident portal like what we're looking for. So, before you go into the top three, because there is a lot of things to consider in our criteria and things that we were looking for, it's a little bit dense. I did want to go through a rundown of basic things that they all meet for the citizen engagement portion and work orders. They all would facilitate a lot more on the resident end, looking up a report by centralizing it, if not on a login interface, at least on a website where you can type in your contact information. They all allow you to allow you to include attachments or notes to the original ticket after submission, so that you don't have to have communications outside of that software. Customizable and manual responses, so that we don't have to type up every response that we're sending to residents. We can set up automatic responses for those reports. They have more of an advanced reporting module than what we currently have, so they would give us more insight, not just on the count of reports that we're receiving, but the time that it's taking us to complete it, where most of them are concentrated, etc. For the work order and asset management, they are all mobile friendly, if not through an app. At least they adapt to a smaller screen, making it easier for you to use it on the field. The notifications are definitely an improvement to what we have right now, and they all have the option to create work orders attached to an address. As you'll know, not all of the options provided by our vendors initially had the option to attach a work order to assets. So we ruled out of the multiple proposals that each submitted, the ones that didn't have that option. And they all have the capability of connecting with Oracle if we wish to, but a disclaimer, the proposals that I'm about to show you don't include the cost of setting up that interface with Oracle, because we would also have to reach out to Oracle and get a price, a quote from them to set that communication. Okay. First option that we've narrowed down to is OpenGov, also known as Cartograph. Out of all of the vendors that are presented, they were the only one that really met all of the initial criteria. by having a login interface and a survey system built into their software. They did have a strong presence on the Dallas-Fort Worth area, with working with cities such as Arlington, Plano, Haltom, all which had great feedback to give in terms of the experience using that software. We'll say that the only negative feedback that we encounter was that some cities initially started using Cartograph, a smaller provider that was bought out by OpenGov, and they did experience challenges in having to transition from Cartograph to OpenGov, facing additional charges. But the vendor that we were in communication with did disclose that if we were to hypothetically go into a contract with them, we wouldn't see additional charges if they were to have any improvements on their program. The updates would be automatic or included in our subscription. Second one is PSD Citywide. This one would not have, unlike the first one, a surveying system built into it. Staff would have to build it on our end, and link that into our responses or final responses to residents. It did, however, in comparison to most vendors, have additional free training after implementation, up to 10 hours a month, but they do not have planning and zoning module, permitting, or code compliance. We understand that's not what we're looking for right now, but a thing to consider is whatever vendor we move forward with, it would be great if they provided other government module solutions, so that if other departments can jump on board, we can eventually become a one hub kind of city where residents can submit requests but also apply for a permit in the same platform. Lastly is MyGov, which is the recommendation as it stands from staff because of its yearly cost and cost of implementation being close, if not under, what we currently have budgeted. At least the yearly cost is, but the implementation cost for that first year in combination with the fee would put us over the approximately $27,000 that are allocated this year for that project. Unlike the other two, there wouldn't be a login interface or account for people to create an account and look at all their history, but they can go to our website once that's built, put in their email, contact information used, and look at the history of everything they've ever submitted. All of these have asset management, preventative maintenance built in. We did want to note that with OpenGov, this proposal was the only one out of the options they provided that would have asset management built in. They did have other cheaper alternatives. Unfortunately, preventative maintenance and asset management wouldn't be built in. So when comparing it to something like MyGov, you're looking at a great difference in cost. And although MyGov might not meet all criteria that we were initially wanting, it does a lot more than what we have and will meet all the needs that we've expressed in different ways. So that is staff's recommendation. After today's meeting, it sounded from the information presented, questions asked, that the representatives from council that were there were leaning towards also going for the purchasing of that vendor, but I am open to questions at the end of the presentation or just jump in a moment if you want me to go into more detail.
All right, so will you repeat that? So what is staff's recommendation?
MyGov, this last,
Okay, the very last.
the very last one. So you see the yearly cost is $21,792. The first price that you see is a combination of the yearly fee with implementation costs. And actually, thank you for pulling me back. One thing we will say with MyGov is that they had the higher presence of cities nearby, but we did get cities like Rolette tell us that when they did their initial training and implementation, they had a few people in staff that were kind of like the in-house experts, And as it so happens with most cities or most organizations, people leave. The people that were really trained on staff, knowing how to do these things, left, and whenever they reached out to the vendor to try to get more in-depth training for the staff that was coming on, they were hit with quotes for retraining. So we did inquire how much that would be to know if in 2 years we were to need training, how much that would be. And they said $480 for a 4-hour session. So after the implementation period is over, you're looking at a charge to get additional help. When you're working with a vendor that big, another downside too is that if you run into issues that you can't solve yourself at the office, you have to submit a request to their engineering team, and you're kind of at the mercy of getting a response from support. Whereas a smaller provider like PSD or what we currently use for planning and zoning, the advantage to that is they're kind of like a sandbox. There's a lot of things that you can customize because of the easy access to support, but they're limited on the tools that they can offer because, then again, how small they are. But MyGov is the recommendation, again, based on meeting most of the criteria that we need and being closer to what we currently have allocated in our budget.
So on the budget, the implementation can be considered a one-time thing, so that can come out of CapEx. So we can take that out of CapEx, I think, right? Yeah, got a head shake, yes.
Okay.
And so then that means that you have to do some math here, but I think you'll be under your 27,000.
Okay, yeah, it's, another disclaimer, we haven't used the 2025-2026 budget. The last year of the contract with the current provider was paid with last fiscal year's budget. So we have opened the funding for this year.
And as far as the training, I perfectly understand the company. They can't give us continuous training forever.
Right.
It's standard practice. You know, they give you the one-time training. If you want more, you got to pay for it. That's how companies work. It falls back on the management to make sure that we don't have a single fault of failure. So you have to have 2 people trained in case one of them gets hit by one of these trains out here, that we have a backup.
Correct. Which takes me to our next point. This is in no means a detailed implementation plan of once we sign a contract with a provider. But as you know, work orders, asset management pertains to only public works, but the resident portion is not only public works. We receive animal services, code compliance, PD at times, and occasionally for the fire department. So when we move forward for that provider to standardize the way that we're communicating with residents, the plan will definitely be with the help of council and city leadership to set up those expectations of communication with representatives from each division, where our communications department could assist us on that training to facilitate getting everyone on board before we go live on how to log in, response to residents, and just standard procedures. And Public Works, again, continue to respond to requests because we are the department that receives the most and manage work orders and assets as they relate to either request or what we're doing independent to what residents are reporting. But yes, to avoid the potential future charges, that would definitely be on staff to train multiple people and save those demos, write up instructions, anything and everything that we can do on our end to alleviate any potential costs. Go ahead.
So Gabe, do you see an issue with, you or your direct report see an issue with these other, I'm assuming the other 2 departments, probably the main ones would be code enforcement and maybe animal control?
Yeah, they do receive a little bit more depending on the season. And again, this would just be a updating resident forum. Code compliance wouldn't, unless they wish to get a code compliance module, be managing those, because I know there's a whole process on staff's end to respond to those requests.
You see an issue with that?
No, I don't think anybody will leave. I mean, we won't have a problem. No, I'm just kidding. No, we'll work through it.
And then I had asked at the subcommittee meeting if Greg had been involved in this, and I would recommend that you do loop him in, just because I know with iWorks, our contract for the IT support, part of that is, as Greg put it, a backup for his mind in case something happens, and they probably would be able to help with the documentation of training for this and have a database of like how-tos through iWorks, so that if something happens, we can call them for support and make sure that, you know, because it's going to be tech related, that he's just in the loop so that he can be involved in that process as well, so that if somebody has a question, they can ask him as too, because it's technology, so it's probably going to be part of his purview, would be my recommendation.
Yes. Thank you. We'll definitely make sure to include that in our implementation.
Any other questions for Louisa?
I just want to say, I think this is an excellent job. I think you all went way above and beyond the way you put together your criteria and used your requirements to evaluate all of these is very impressive. Excellent job, I think.
Thank you, guys. And I kind of jumped ahead on my conclusion. As I've let you know, we came to that recommendation truly because of the reasons I just explained, but it was definitely not an apples to apples comparison. All of these vary in the way that they tend to the issues that we have. So it's not always like we either have it or don't, just more so the way that they provide it. But you've already given us feedback, plenty too, in terms of moving into implementation. So unless we have anything different, I'm hearing that the consensus is moving forward with starting drafting of a contract with MyGov, or are there any objections to?
I think the answer is yes. I think absolutely.
Okay.
I appreciate the hard work doing this, and I appreciate us being nimble enough and flexible enough to look at other options after we get started with one. We didn't know what we didn't know, because we'd never done this before, so we learned a lot and put that into this one. So like, we should be much better on the outside of coming out of this, so.
And thank you to everyone that attended yesterday and give us 2 hours of your time. I know it took quite a bit, but.
Any other questions for Louisa? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great presentation. All right, moving on to number X4, business. Consideration action regarding resolution 2025-19, authorizing the casting of the City of Saginaw's allocated votes for appointment the Tarrant Appraisal District. That goes to me. A couple things on this. I would like our city secretary to give us and there she is, give us a couple, just a feedback to make sure we're all on the same page. So we have, how many votes? Go ahead.
So the item before you is, it's election season for Tarrant Appraisal District Board of Directors. 2 out of the 5 positions are up for election with the expiring terms of December 31st. In your packet, we included the bios of the nominees. We have 4 nominees that are on the ballot. And so City of Saginaw has been allocated 6 votes. And the action that is required, council.
Previous, we had 14 votes.
Did have
Can you
14
explain what?
So with that being said, there was an article published in the Star Telegram. I'm not sure if any of you have read it, but there was a mishap in the calculation on how that was done last year. And so that has been discovered, and I believe Eric Crowell, who is here in the audience, was the one that actually pointed it out to the chief appraiser. And so, and there's a current investigation as we speak, and there's a third party investigating this issue. So roughly there was votes that were allocated, more votes allocated to an entity. And so that has transpired where because they used, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, where they basically copy-pasted the calculations for this year. And so with that being said, I did speak with someone at the office at the Tarrant County Appraisal, and we do have 6 allocated votes. But with that being said, we do have until December 15th to submit a resolution, before December 15th, to submit a resolution how we're going to be allocating those votes. So you can either allocate it to one person or distribute them among the 4 nominees. Just as long as their home numbers is what they recommended. But we do have Eric Crowell, who is here in the audience, who would like to speak on behalf of,
All right, and before that, I spoke to Brack there, and Brack had an idea. I want you to fill us in.
Yeah. I'm actually going to make a motion that we table this item.
Okay, not yet, though. Just
It-
present
Yeah,
your-
I'm
yes.
not making the motion right now, but I will be. And the way that it works is that the larger entities must cast their vote at the first meeting that they have after they announce the election. And what that does is that prevents them from delaying their vote till the end so that they can basically make the result what they want. And so we have an opportunity to delay our vote until we see how the larger entities are voting, and we can kind of coalesce behind what we feel like, how that vote's going to go.
So it appears to me that if we do delay this, it would not impact our ability to cast votes. We delay 2 weeks to the next council meeting, which would be November, whatever. We would still be able to get our votes in on time. No issue with that, right?
Yes, that is correct, as long as we do it before December 15th.
Excellent, okay. Any other council comments before I call Eric up to?
I do want to say that I emailed all of the candidates, and there's still one that has not emailed back. So I, whenever the time comes, I think being patient and making our choice based on being informed is a good move.
Well, Eric, you want to come and speak? Please introduce yourself for the record.
Eric Crowell, I live in Fort Worth, Texas. And yeah, I emailed the chief appraiser back in June asking about the vote discrepancy. So I was gonna tell you a little bit about myself. First, I'm not sure if I got your email because I've went through and I haven't got one. So if it was me,
It was me. I looked for you briefly before I fired them off and could not find an email for you. But you emailed me, so I have it now. Thank you.
You're welcome. You had 14 votes last year. The reason you had 14 votes last year is because there was 5 positions up. So as there are more positions available, your vote totals increase. This year there's only 2. That's why the vote totals have come down. Last year what happened is TCC got about an extra 196 votes. I can play the numbers out, and I did. Saginaw may have gotten 1 extra vote last year, so you would have went from 14 to 15. It wouldn't have been a great difference. Most of that would have went to the ISDs in the larger entities. The larger entities actually have to vote at their first 2 meetings. They have 2 meetings. Fort Worth City Council voted today. Fort Worth ISD is voting tonight. And I expect Keller, Tarrant County to vote at their next meetings. I'm here if you have questions for me, just real quick about me. I spoke to you guys last year. You guys were kind enough to give me your 14 votes last year. I didn't get on, but I've had a busy year. I'm going to tell you real quick what I did. Your school district, Eagle Mountain Saginaw, has again nominated me, and I have strong support, I think, within the ISDs this year. But one of the things I did is, since I didn't get on, I wanted to figure out how could I be productive. So I decided I'd go to Austin. So I went down to Austin and testified on a bill. And when I was deciding to do that, I also read the Property 6 of the tax code, and I found out that the conservation districts, the biggest being the Tarrant Regional Water District, Viridian and Caris, well, they've never participated since 1980, never participated. So I set out, that was my goal. And I started speaking to them, and I got them to participate. And it was through that process is when I discovered the whole TCC thing, because their nominated voting period's a little bit different, so they were kind enough to nominate me for that as well. But I think that's enough about me. But if you guys have any questions for me, I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Please, any questions for Eric while he's up here? Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming. Appreciate the information. Excellent. Unless there's any other discussion, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion that we table this item to our December 2nd meeting.
Valerie, second. Please cast your votes. All right, motion passes. We'll discuss again in December. Excellent. Thanks for coming in, Eric. All right, so we have executive session. So at 7:03 PM, we're in executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code 551087, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations. We will return to adjourn. A motion to adjourn.
Mayor, make a motion, we adjourn.
Brack. Valerie, second. Please cast your votes. All right, it's 7:29. We're out of here. Thank y'all.